Major funding for this program provided by the Moving Image Trust Fund. Additional funding for this program provided by the Arkansas Agriculture Department.
Hello, I'm Tony Brooks, and this is Agri Arkansas. Today, food recovery in Northwest Arkansas, future farmers of America, and a resurgence in seed swapping. Our guests, Don Bennett with Tricycle Farms in Fayetteville, and Alyssa Johnson, FFA Chapter Vice President from Greenbrier High School. The Natural State has many great organizations dedicated to addressing food insecurity in Arkansas. Tricycle Farms in Fayetteville has a mission that has evolved over the past few years. What started out as a way to amend the soil on the farm by using recovered and expired food from local natural food stores has morphed into a full-on mission to address food insecurity in their neighborhood and beyond.
So, who owns this farm?
All of us.
All of us do, don't we? We share it with everyone, and we're pleased to be able to do that.
Well, we're in the center of Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is the state's third largest city, of about 75 to 80,000 people. Tricycle Farms was started with this discovery of the huge number of food insecurity. I mean, in Washington County, it's the second highest number of food insecure people. Only second to Pulaski County.
We come into contact by coming out and helping, of course, and by eating all the food that we can manage to eat. But how else? What else do we do?
Work here.
We work here, so sometimes we do chores.
We pick stuff from the garden.
We do pick stuff from the garden, so we help harvest. Do you ever help plant stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, we help plant. What else do we do? You ever do chores here?
Yes.
Do you help in the house?
Yes, sometimes we might mop on the weekends.
Food insecurity, as I know it, is that any week, any month, any day, you don't know what the quality or quantity of food you're going to have access to. In just my neighborhood, in a square mile, 39% of our neighbors are living below the level of poverty. The food recovery program at Tricycle Farms started as essentially a composting program. You know, we thought that that was going to be an important lessons to learn at the farm, and that was the program that was at one of the natural food stores that are just within 1 mile of the farm. And they invited us to come pick up that food, and we started working with volunteers to create this composting program.
Okay, well, it started about 4.5 years ago. I found Tricycle on Facebook, and I had just got the position that I have now. I reached out, sent him a Facebook message, asked if we could get together, meet, to see what we could do to, see what we could do together. And Don and I met and instantly became like super friends, and you could just see like all the possibilities just starting to blossom right then and there.
For us, he just asked to be part of our compost list. Like, we don't put any of our produce scraps in the dumpster. We give it to an array of local farmers and organizations like Dawn, and then people with animal shelters, so that none of it goes into the landfill. And that's why he approached us, and then he's been using that for his food recovery program.
When we started picking up the food at the natural food store, it was just ran the gamut of every kind of variety of vegetable that you can imagine. And for the most part, sometimes it was too far gone, compost, easy. Sometimes it was perfectly imperfect and only needed a small part of it to be cut out to be almost 90% perfectly nutritious. By November 29th, this is not even out of date. And what we found was the folks that were coming and volunteering their time were food insecure, and they were looking at that food going, boy, this is still good. I would like to take this home. And we changed the program right then and made people the first priority. And then we made the soil the last priority. Now transitioning into food recovery, we discovered a law called the Emerson Act. It was also called the Good Samaritan Act, which allowed for-profit businesses to give either prepared food or food that they've taken off their shelves and can't sell to a nonprofit. And their liability ends with the for-profit, and the nonprofit can then share with the community that needs it.
I think is really great because we We're a grocery store, so we're set up to provide that service to people, and it's really wonderful that we're able to work with Don and his organization. His business is to work with underserved people and get them food in a different function than a traditional grocery store does.
We feel like we like to come here because it's a safe place. We learn a bunch, and in fact, we like to even help share what we learn with other people. We like to give tours of the farm.
I remember one year we replanted strawberries.
Yeah, in the children's garden. Yeah.
The Tricycle Farms Food Recovery Project in the past 2 years has gleaned about 35,000 pounds of food that we've shared with people, animals, and the soil. But we want to expand that with another natural food store and grow that program in 2017 to over 100,000 pounds of food. And that's going to be close to over 50 tons of food removed from our landfills.
The food recovery program is something that Don approached us with about a year ago, and the process for our store, it takes a team to get this done. It's every department has a designated place behind the scenes in our store, and they collect food that is no longer something that we can sell, but it's still of great quality. And we collect those items, and Tricycle Farms will be coming to our store 2 to 3 times a week to collect those items and create some really great meals to give back to the community.
44 pounds? One of our huge, I think, successes was our applications to Arkansas Garden Corps and our applications to AmeriCorps Vista at the Arkansas office. We've been awarded and had for 3 years Arkansas Garden Corps service members at the site, and now we've been awarded 5 positions in AmeriCorps Vista with the sole goal of building the capacity of our organization to be sustainable well into the future.
Virtually every given day, we have wonderful volunteers working in the garden. We have now our AmeriCorps Vista and Garden Corps team members who we're working to build. We're updating systems and designing systems in terms of administration and operations efficiencies. We are usually planning for 3 or 4 or 5 events at a time, whether it's a class or a larger public event or an entertainment event even, here during any given day, coming to support Tricycle Farms.
I manage the regular volunteering opportunities, Fall in the Garden, Thursday afternoon composting and food recovery, and I also help to organize big work days.
What they've created here is volunteer coordination, media and public outreach and community connections so that we can prove how much impact we're making with our neighbors. Averaging anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000 people coming to the farm, between 1,000 and 2,000 volunteers doing between 8,000 and 10,000 volunteer hours to raise a farm. And quite frankly, raise a farmer. The idea is that at Tricycle Farms, what we're trying to do is through inspiration, awareness, and education is grow growers and farm farmers that serve the communities that they live in.
So, yeah, we've had some pulling out in here. Don't see it growing anymore. The Arkansas FFA Association was chartered in 1928, the same year as the National FFA organization. It is dedicated to making a positive difference in the lives of students by developing their potential for premier leadership, personal growth, and career success through agriculture education.
The National FFA organization is the largest student-led organization in the nation, with almost 650,000 members and over 7,700 chapters. Here in Arkansas, we have about 15,000, a little over 300 chapters. The FFA mission is that FFA makes a positive difference in the lives of students by developing their potential for premier leadership, personal growth, and career success through agricultural education. I believe that FFA does just that. As you walk into the classroom, you get your hands-on skills, you get to learn how about public speaking, and you get to learn about the career opportunities, not only in agriculture, but through anything you want to do in life.
Arkansas was the second state chartered, so overall National FFA started in 1928, but we chartered in 1929, and that's when this camp originally was built. So it's the second oldest camp west of the Mississippi, which is something we're pretty proud of here. This Camp Couchdale, it was started just by FFA members and advisors that wanted to get together and have a place for them to gather and just celebrate what they were a part of. So it's grown to about 25 acres. We can house about 150 to 200 people.
My FFA experience started when I was in 8th grade at junior high. I walked into the class not sure that an agriculture class would be the fit for me, and on the first day of class we were assigned to recite something called the FFA Creed. From that moment on, I knew that FFA was the spot for me, and I learned my love for public speaking and leadership.
The biggest skill that I've learned through FFA is definitely public speaking. Well, if you look at 8th grade Foster and me now, it's two separate people. Back then I was a shy kid that wasn't going to step up, wasn't going to do anything, but now I can stand up in front of a crowd of 1,000 people and talk about my passion for agriculture and my experience through FFA.
Ready? Hunt. I have to be careful whenever I brag about our program. We're pretty excited about our program and what we've accomplished for the last 30 years here. Our CDE season, or our career development season here at Greenbrier, we start in our spring semester. We'll travel to several practice contests preparing us for our district contest at Russellville. And then if we qualify in the top 10% in each event, then we would move on to our state contest that will be in April the 15th at the University of Arkansas. The end goal, I guess when we start this thing, the end goal is to win your state contest, move on to the national contest in Indianapolis. We've been very blessed to have success in these CDEs in the past. Since I've been here the last 11 years, we've been fortunate enough to win at least one state championship every year. One year we actually won 8 state championships, and as far as I know, I think that's the record for the most of one school to win in 1 year. But again, we were extremely fortunate that year, and that's where skill and luck met each other. I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched. I think we're going to be very competitive this year. We got a lot of good kids, a lot of kids back, and had some strong teams last year, and then those kids are back. But I think we're going to be successful, and we'll be a player, but you never know.
There are two types of competitions really. There are leadership development events and career development events. I began my FFA experience with leadership development events, and then I increased my knowledge by competing in parliamentary procedure, learning Robert's rules, and I also worked on my public speaking through contests such as extemporaneous speaking and prepared public speaking.
I have one state championship with the land judging team. I'm hoping to get another one this year on the electricity team. I have a couple people back with me for a second year, and we're going to give it another try. And I'm also on the parliamentary procedures team. We were second at state last year, and we're hoping to improve on that this year.
I have been a livestock judger, but this year I switched to the nursery landscape team. It's a little bit different, so hopefully I'm just kind of looking forward to this season. Hopefully that I'll be able to go to Fayetteville in April for the state contest with nursery landscape judging. If we bring a win in Fayetteville, then hopefully we get to go on and compete at nationals. I am very excited about the prospect of it. Being as I compete in 2 different contests, hopefully, you know, at least one of them will have a good outcome in it, and then I can make it to Indy this fall.
To encourage younger students that may be thinking about FFA or don't exactly know what it is yet, I would simply say that FFA is a place for all kinds of kinds. There's not one specific description of what an FFA member looks like. There is so many opportunities in the FFA through scholarships, career outlets, networking. There's the competition aspect, which is so much fun, and you make so many friends, and you get to learn soft skills that you can take into a future career or into just everyday life. This scope of the FFA is not just something that can be ignored. All of the futures that come from these members are absolutely astounding. Their stories are astounding, and everything that I've done through the FFA and others have done through the FFA has not only been one of the major stepping stones for their future, but prepared them in a way that no classes, no core classes ever could.
Generations ago, it was a common practice to get together with other growers in your area near the end of the off-season and swap seeds. Well, that practice has been renewed in recent years. Take a look.
Today is the Faulkner County Seed Swap. Sandra, what's the official name of what's going on here?
That's it.
Okay.
I mean the name of the event.
Faulkner County Seed Swap. Yeah, so we're here at Faulkner County Library, and lots of local farmers have come out and brought seeds from all their favorite vegetables that they've saved up.
Today is the Faulkner County Seed Swap, which we invite different organizations and just different farmers and people who want to come and share their seeds, share their stories, share tips of how to grow things.
So we're just swapping seeds here and kind of geeking out over some of the coolest things we grew last year and hoping to give other people a chance to grow those things as well. And
this is something that farmers and gardeners have always done since 10,000 years ago when people started domesticating plants and animals, right? Got together to share their best varieties that they saved from the previous year. Now, over recent decades, over the last century, we've gotten into hybrid seeds. Companies have hybridized seeds. They're very productive, they're high yielding, but that has also narrowed the genetic base of things. So we want to keep those old-time varieties alive and recreate those things that used to happen naturally, where everyone gets together and shares their best varieties of seeds.
We're from Fort Smith. We're here for the seed swap in Conway.
We found out about the seed swap through AETN and a documentary, and as well as the Facebook page, the Seed Swap documentary Facebook page.
We've got over 350 varieties, everything from cotton to tomatoes, flowers. We had a big interest in catnip today, actually, which was kind of strange, but lots of different stuff, all kinds of things. Mostly people are interested in things like tomatoes, okra, peppers, that kind of stuff.
You don't have to have seeds. You can just come and get some, and then maybe next year you can come and share your experience of how it went, what worked best.
We're not just swapping seeds, but also information. And so when someone hands you a packet of seed, they often tell you how best to grow it, you know, and that's just huge because every plant is different, just like every person is different. You need different inputs.
The seed swap can be a jumping point for somebody who's never gardened before, just because you get so much encouragement from the people who are here telling you it really isn't that hard, you can just try, and even if it doesn't work out the first time, you can try again.
We try to plant them and grow what we can, and sometimes we're successful and sometimes we're not, but it's just the fun of trying and experimenting, you know, and we're learning. Yeah. We've learned a lot about growing things because we live in the city. We don't have really land besides our front and backyards. So people have taught us how we can still grow at home, you know, in the city.
It's like a resurgence of an older tradition. I think it's like a closeness to your food and like careful attention to the story that your food has. Everything has a story, where it came from, how it got there, where it's going. But I think recently our culture has kind of dropped the food story, and now we're picking it back up again.
Joining us now is Don Bennett of Tricycle Farms in Fayetteville and Alyssa Johnson, FFA Chapter Vice President from Greenbrier High School. Welcome to both of you. We're certainly glad you're both here. Don, we're going to start with you. I want to tell me just a little bit about Tricycle Farms. You said you began with composting to amend the soil. Was that to enrich the acreage you have there for production?
Yeah, we just figured that you know, if we recycled some foods and looked at it as, instead of waste, as a resource, we could feed the soil that's feeding us.
Now, in addition to, and I want to talk more about the recycling food in a moment, but in addition to that, you also raise food at Tricycle Farm.
Yes. Yeah, we raise quite a diversity of food. We do it chemical-free, and we do it like our great-great-grandparents used to do it, where they said a third for the birds. So we know we'll lose some to the bugs, bunnies, and bees, but we'll share a third with volunteers,
give a third to meals and pantries, and then sell a third to restaurants and markets so that we can pay for what we're doing.
And you're still doing the composting, so that enriches the soil where you're growing these.
Yes.
And you talked about a children's garden.
We have a strawberry sunflower circle that we teach about pollinators. Because we're not using any chemicals, we have every pollinator you can imagine. We've also started a farm to school program, and so we have a farm to school market garden. So we want to teach the kids to come out and plant and come back and harvest and learn how to cook nutritious meals.
And that's a big part of what you do, because even teenagers or college-age students today really didn't grow up with a farm or with a garden. So you're teaching them how to grow food.
Well, they grew up in grocery stores, and there's sort of an intimidation that shouldn't be there of growing food. If they'd been working with their grandmother or their grandfather out in the gardens, then it'd be old hat to them. But I think our goals to grow growers and farmers is just to take away that intimidation, get your hands in the soil, and let nature take its course if you just nurture it and water it and believe in it.
If someone watching this program didn't know about Tri-Cycle Farms and they're in need, they need food, how do they go about acquiring food?
We've got a volunteer coordinator. We reach out to the community through Facebook, through the Volunteer Action Center, which is at the University of Arkansas. There are food insecure University of Arkansas students, and we welcome people to come out and work with us in the garden, learn how to take care of the gardens. We call it garden tenders. We've got another program called City Chicks, which is we invite people to come out and become chicken tenders and to just feed, water, and love the chickens. And I think that in an urban environment immerses people and takes them away from the city. It's like a sanctuary, our gardens are.
I love the phrase chicken tenders. You talked about the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Food Donation Act of '96, and it surprised me. When I was fresh out of graduate school, I went to work for Congressman Emerson back in the early '80s as a legislative aide. And he was working on this legislation even back then. It passed after his untimely death. He died of cancer in '96, and this act was named in his honor. So this in itself is a win-win for people that are like you that produce, and also people that want to donate food.
Well, for-profit businesses, I don't think anybody in those stores really enjoy throwing this in the trash. So it's an environmental win as well, because the food is destined to make methane, and we can remove that from the mix and then share it and solve another problem, that's food insecurity. So I think we're killing two, maybe three birds with one stone.
Okay. I want to go to Alyssa for just a moment. We were talking before the show, and you're so enthused about FFA. I see a little bit of what makes it the largest student-led organization in the nation. Am I on track?
Yes, sir. It's really, I think it has become the largest student organization in the nation because it's so diverse. We can have students from urban areas, and then the students who grow up on farms, and that's all that they know. And we can even have those who are just going to be pharmacists, but they learn, soft skills, and they gain their public relations skills in the FFA. And so it just attracts multiple people from different backgrounds, different career goals, and it just allows multiple students to do as much as they can and to get involved and really help their future a lot.
My youngest daughter, Sarah, was involved in FFA at Greenbrier several years ago, and the point you made about preparing students to become more than farmers, and I know that she has used the public speaking skills, other skills that she gained because she was involved in FFA in her job that she has right now, and it has nothing to do with farming.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people, there are a lot of students who do go into the agriculture field, but back in the 80s they changed the name from the Future Farmers of America to just the National FFA organization, because we realized that agriculturalists and then all the students who become heavily involved and gain as much as they can from the FFA are going to be more than just farmers. Yes, we have our farmers and our ranchers, but we also have teachers and pharmacists and doctors and scientists, and it's just really neat to be able to say that.
Tell me a little bit about Camp Couchdale and the competitions that go on there.
Camp Couchshell is our state's FFA camp, and there's a lot of leadership conferences that go on during the summers, and even like a one-day conference over the winters and stuff. It's definitely a known place where many students make new friends, and then you can't look, or you look forward and you cannot wait to get back to Camp Couchshell to see your friends that you haven't seen in a long time, because honestly, the majority of FFA members have friends who are from, all four corners of the state. And a lot of times these contests that we get to go to, whether they're in Fayetteville, South Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas, or right at Couchshell for the alumni contest, it's just it gets us excited to be there, and it's just a place, it's like our home away from home.
Now tell me about, you were involved in a different competition last year, and this year you're involved in nursery landscape. Tell me how that works. What are some of the competitive activities that take place in that area?
There are tons and tons of contests that you get to do. I used to judge livestock, and this year I switched over to the nursery landscape contest, and it's a lot about knowing like fertilizers and the ratios between nitrogen and phosphorus and all the nutrients that are in the fertilizers, and then knowing placements for plants and being able to draw a landscape design and be able to pull out different measurements and stuff like that from it, and also knowing like plant IDs and stuff like that, and as well as equipment, diseases, and bugs.
Thank you both so much. It's been a pleasure having you both here and looking to the future, both of you. Both of your groups.
Thanks,
Thank
Tony.
you.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you here. That's all the time we have for today. You can find past episodes of Agri Arkansas online at aetn.org/Agri-Arkansas. And if you have story ideas, we'd love to hear them. Drop in an email at agri@aetn.org. That's all the time for now. We'll see you next time.
Major funding for this program provided by the Moving Image Trust Fund. Additional funding for this program provided by the Arkansas Agriculture Department.